I thought that would. I was going for effect on that one. Okay, well, wait. Well, there it is. Almost. We're on version 2.2 of these agreements, by the way.
Have we figured out a way to put them through those questions so they have to answer them before they come back? Because I keep seeing a lot of folks actually referred that haven't run the gauntlet of the questions first. Have we figured out how to force that?
Well, we're not allowing them. You're not getting in the group until you answer the questions, or you know Clark personally, intimately.
Or Andy. I hear he's pretty influential too.
He could be. Yeah. He would shave once in a while. All right.
Yeah. Dave too.
All right, let's start this over again. Restoration 2.0. The Restoration Rebels push the agenda of the Restoration 2.0 movement. Our purpose is to empower and educate the insurance consumer in order to create a more fair claims process. Rebel rule number 1, I will protect the value of my services. I will never provide free services, as these only serve to erode the value of contractor services industry-wide. Rebel rule number 2, I will practice incredible transparency in my communications. I will explain our processes in detail to my client. I will never hide details or manipulate reports. I will never communicate with a third party without also communicating with my client. Rebel rule number 3, I do not believe in competition. And I wanted to talk about this last week, and I'm not going to be able to do it, but we need to get this into our heads. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of the restoration community, and it is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. Who needs to be muted right now? Somebody. Everyone mute themselves. Reach out. Push that button. Rebel rule number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth taking part in if it requires losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Howdy, y'all. All right, let's start out with newcomers. Go around the horn. Who's their first time in here?
Logan.
That's
Peter. Peter, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're at and what you do.
Peter Martone. I work for Paul Davis franchise, as well as do independent consulting. I've been in restoration for about 18 years now.
Perfect. Welcome. Well, 18 years. You and I are out in it. About the same. Good. All right. Who else is first here tonight? First round.
That's my first one for you.
Jerry, introduce yourself.
Jerry Edel. I'm out on the West Coast in Corvallis, Oregon, not too far from Bend, Oregon. Andy?
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs. Absolutely. I've been in the industry 40 plus years, and I'm glad to be a part and support this group and what you're doing.
Deep expertise and experience in the Service Master franchise world.
Yep.
And you have already committed, yes, to be in at the next Restoration 2.0 Summit in May. Yes?
Me?
Yes.
Totally, yes.
Shameless plug.
Hey, if we wanted, if we wanted pride, we'd be in a different industry, I think. Yeah, there's no shame here.
Well, I'm delighted.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. Jerry's going to be talking about partnering with agents, a new way to do agency marketing that actually works and is effective in the long term. So I'm looking very forward to what he's got to share with us. Who else here is the first time? Bob and Christine, how you guys doing? Good to see you. I love you guys' house, by the way. I like the other night you had it pointed towards the fireplace with the stockings hung with care. Oh, look at that! Look at that.
Seem like a lot.
Like, all right, who else first timer? I'm not seeing any raised hands, but I've got a bunch of people waiting. All right, Blaine, if you will click over onto attendees and promote each one of those folks in as panelists. Promote to panelists. You can't do it? Oh,
let me see. There we go.
We got Whitney Weissman, Sam Fernandez, Robert Johnson, Ken Larson, and Brian Dougherty on deck, waiting to get in. There we go. Almost. Good. Joe Ledbetter did an amazing job putting together that website that he showed with me and Clark today. Looking forward to that going live. It is awesome. Just awesome. Logan Little, it's your first time in, right?
It is. I was trying to get all this going. What is?
There you go. Yeah, those tickets are a little pricey last minute. Where you at? What are you doing?
I'm out of Memphis, Tennessee, and had a former background with the Service Master franchise here locally, and we just started up a new restoration fit here in town in August of this year.
Perfect. Nice.
Yes, sir.
Well, you found the right group. Anything we can do to help you out, you know we will. So just reach out. Don't be afraid. All right. Clark, you want to take this away? I've got to step away and do some other things. Or Blaine, I don't know how you guys set this up. Somebody was in charge other than me. Good to see you, Sam. How you been, brother?
Yeah, it was me and Blaine.
All right. I'm gonna step away from the mic.
You want me to go, Ryan?
Yeah, please.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight. We've got almost 30 people in here so far. Little hiccups, but pretty excited about tonight's topics. We're going to be talking a little bit about three major topics, I guess. The first one that we'll explore tonight, we touched on a little bit last week, and that is the RTPE. Who are they? What do they do? Are they a threat to you and your business, or do you see differently? I have my own opinions about what they're doing and what the mission is at hand. I like it. I think it's what this industry needs. But I will turn it over to either Ken Larson or David Sweet. Which one of you guys want to take over here?
Well, Ken here. David, why don't you say something first?
I'd like to yield the floor to the senior member of the Senate.
Oh, I don't know. Well, okay, I guess I should say a few things. Listen, I want to thank everybody for your interest in the whole RTPE thing. It is new. It's been around for, I think the idea evolved almost a year ago now, and maybe it's important that you understand what inspired the whole RTPE idea. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? I want to make sure I'm not just talking. Everything's okay, good. So what happened was I was on the phone call. Maybe I got to step back one step further. There was a contractor who had a problem with a TPA. And the TPA was beating him up, and it was ridiculous. And the whole approach that the TPA was taken was just completely unfair. And so the contractor called me up, and he said, "Ken, could you help me out on this call? You know, try and talk some sense to this TPA." And I said, "Sure, let's get on a three-way phone call." And so in this conversation, a young lady was on the call, and you know, I was polite and kind, and I said, you know, what seems to be the issue, and they were arguing about equipment counts and, you know, how they were placed, and, you know, they wanted to only have a conventional refrigerant and, you know, things like that. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, let's go get your S500 and we'll read it together. And she says, I don't need to get my S500. I know what it says. I said, well, clearly, you know, we got to get on the same page. Let's take a look at this document. Go grab yours, and we'll turn to, page 234 of the book, and, you know, I just want to read something together. And she says, I don't need to read the standard. I'm a certified WRT technician. Are you certified, sir? And I just about lost my mind. And anyways, I then talked to her manager, and everything got straightened out. But the bottom line was that experience made me realize that there are some of these individuals out there that really believe that they are an expert after having attended a 3-day course. And I think that a lot of the messages that they get in the classrooms leaves them really not understanding what we do for a living. And so, you know, that kind of made me go for a walk around the block, and I started thinking about what we needed to do. And I realized that, our industry does have some real large industry experts that are really seasoned professionals. They have top-end formal education, and they're not just a 3-day wonder. So I thought, we should make a registry of them. And so I felt it was important that, even though I have a real passion for the RIA and those upper level accreditations through the RIA, that's not the only formal education opportunity out there. There are some others that are really deserving of some respect. And the ones that deserve mention are the ACAC courses. They are recognized by the government as being a true certification. You are legally allowed to put those letters after your name, unlike the IICRC courses where you are not legally allowed to put letters after your name. So I figured, okay, there's another good one. There's also many university programs and CIHs and other recognized credentials. So I figured, all right, these people who want to be recognized as experts in the industry, there should be a registry for them. So that's what created the Registered Third-Party Evaluator. And so that's what inspired it. That's where it came from. And I saw that Blaine put up some of the code of conduct and the code of ethics for the RTPE. I'd be excited to talk about any of those if you have any questions about them, and any of your concerns or questions about it. David and I can hopefully help with answering those questions. Great, that's it.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, there was the topic of the RTP was brought up last week, and there's obviously a lot of curiosity, I think. Maybe some feel a little threatened. Kind of the take I got, how's anybody going to tell me how to do my job type of thing. I see it a little different. I'm not a big ego guy, and I like the code of ethics, and I know you very well, and I know that your passion for this industry and your knowledge about really what's going on, the science behind everything. I think even only if you were to be involved on a few projects for any one of us in this forum, I think there would definitely be some positive benefit and some definite teaching moments there. So
if I could, let me address that, because I thought about that myself. How would I feel as a restorer having somebody that I may or may not even know come in on the job and start telling me how to do the job, and I still have to take the risk of the end result? How can I really have confidence in this? Well, I have two responses to that. Okay, so the first one, I want to tell you what's really happening out there. Okay, so I'm very busy on a day-to-day basis right now, working with contractors who are taking the position that we are all taking on mold jobs. Many of us, when we get a mold job, we say, all right, we're ready to get to work, but we need to have a consultant come in, collect some samples, figure out where we are, and then we can do our work and we'll follow their protocol. And then once we're, we finish what we think needs to be done, we'll call them back in and make sure that the job is done correctly. So after Hurricane Harvey and Irma, certain contractors thought, well, we could probably imitate that with the RTPE. So they get these large projects, whether it be a condo or, some big building, a commercial building, and they sign up the customer. And the customer says, great, when can you have your team in here? And the contractor says, well, we'd love to start, but we got to have a protocol first. And they say, well, why do you need a protocol? Don't you know what you're doing? Well, we sure do. We know what we're doing. And we know that we would call this a category 1 or 2 or 3, whatever they're going to call it. Say, yeah, that's what we would call it. But the problem is that at the end of the job, more often than not, the insurance company is going to argue with us. It's a hurricane, so we call it a category 3. And then the insurance company says, oh, no, that's a category 1. It's rainwater. And then, so the contractor says, okay, we're just going to call it a category 1 and we'll dry it. And then the insurance company says, what the heck are you doing? That's a category 3. It's a hurricane water. I'm not going to pay you for your drying. So one way or the other, the contractor is screwed. And we know this game. We've all done this. So they mitigate that risk, that argument at the end of the job by bringing in the consultant, bringing in an RTPE at the start of the job who will categorize the job, produce a protocol, and then the contractor goes to work, does their thing, and then they call us back in to clear it as a third party. And then we can even help them with a drying strategy if they wish. And we will even do the daily drying records on their behalf. And we just submit the bill. And interestingly enough, that bill does not count against policy limits. We get paid from the same pot of money that the independent insurance adjuster gets paid from, because it's all falling under claim preparation. And so it's a no threat to the contractor, because we help them put their ducks in a row so that they're going to get paid after the job. And you have a seasoned professional standing right beside you, ready to talk to that adjuster or TPA or any person who wants to debate what you did. You know, we're right there for you guys. Now, the second thing I want to say about this is, you know, it's true. There's going to be some arguments from a contractor who says, I don't want somebody else telling me how to do my job. Here's my my response to that. If I had a contractor say that, I would absolutely nod my head and say, absolutely correct. This is your job. And if you don't want me to chime in on any advice or guidance or suggestions on what to do, I get it, man. It's your job, and I'm not even going to try and change what you do. But I am hired by the homeowner. So I am going to be a percipient witness. I'm going to watch what you do, and I'm going to document it. Now, that's all. It's your choice. But if I can get behind it, I got your back, brother. If it's not something I can get behind, well, I'm going to have to represent the house, the needs of the job. And so it's up to you. We can work together on this, or you can do it all on your own. And I'm just going to document what you do. It's up to you, brother. It's your job. And again, they maintain control. And I'll be honest, you know, most people, they're happy to brainstorm solutions. And so let's just collaborate, and we'll probably have the best end result.
Can I also add in here real quickly that typically what we end up finding is, by the time you put someone like Ken or myself on a project, we tend to find things that other people in just the turmoil of the process don't necessarily always catch. Bills tend to go up. And by go up, I don't mean inflate. I mean, we're really capturing the full scope of work that should be done. For my contractors, I write a silica protocol. You're going to be tearing out silica-based materials. There's a containment, there's negative pressurization, there's a protocol for doing that, which at the end of the day, first off, protects your workers, your occupants, and also generates revenue. And it's appropriate revenue. It's revenue that should be there as a part of a job properly done. So contractors, while they may be a little apprehensive up front, generally find that we're driving a standard of care that's both appropriate and also, at the end of the day, profitable. We're not increasing it. We're just making sure the I's get dotted and T's get crossed. Ken, do you see that consistently?
Yeah, I totally do. And that's a really good point. In fact, I think most of us here probably have enough experience to know that, you know, we know that sometimes water comes from a freshwater source, and our inclination is to say that's a Category 1 loss. We also know that the standard says that when it comes into contact with different materials or substances, it can change category to a Category 2 or a 3. And we all know how dirty carpet can be, and how dirty tile floors can be, and how dirty it can be inside a cabinet or whatever. And what I will tell you is that when we do these tests, it's stunning to me how few Category 1 losses there are. They're Category 2 or 3 usually. And, you know, if you've got the data to prove your position, then you don't have to worry too much about the debate at the end of it, because you've got, you know, facts from an independent third party. And that's one of the reasons why the job frequently would become, the full value. the full scope with less debate at the end of it.
We also tend to find what's interesting is I'm both a contractor and a consultant. You all know that. I'll have an insurance company argue with me on a claim, see the same company a week later, the same adjuster as an RTPE and a consultant. And the same thing that they argued with me before, they say yes, sir, to in that particular capacity. And I think that the problem ends up being is no matter how good and how honest we are as contractors, there's always a presumption that our profit motive skews what we do and how we do it in a way that gives us at least the opportunity to be unfair or the opportunity to be less than appropriate with what we do. That third party involvement in all the RTPEs, they're consultants, so we work on an hourly basis. We don't care how large, how small, we don't care how long it takes, how fast it dries, we don't care if it's cat 1, 2, or 3. Our job is simply to report it and make sure that the standards get exhausted the way that they're supposed to. It's interesting to see someone be outright rude on one project and deferential and professional on the following one. That's the power of an independent and neutral third-party voice, especially when it comes on the behalf of an insured, because they might want to argue with lots of things, but they all know who their client at the end of the day is. They know who paid the policy premium, and all the courts tend to agree with them. So I don't know. I don't think you work both sides of that fence, but I can tell you that it makes a huge difference for us.
Well, you guys.
Oh, if I could just add one more thing, if that's okay, Blaine.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that, so we talked on the small scale, smaller picture, individual jobs, and how we can be of assistance to that. The other thing that both David and I will also provide, and every other RTP, is they all have experience as expert witness testimony and depositions and formal report writing. We've been formally trained in how to do that. That's part of the courses we've taken. And so if you need to have somebody who has a resume with that kind of a heady-hitting clout, if you will, that will at least hopefully cause the debater to pause for a moment and wonder if they really do want to get into this discussion farther. Because now it's not just, a mom and pop or a single restorer that is trying to defend themselves. You actually have somebody on your side with some experience and legal experience and testimonial experience, courtroom experience is the word I'm looking for, that can help you out. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's outstanding. I hope that we continue to discuss this topic through the weeks, months, and years. I think this is a difference maker. This whole year has been full of change in a lot of different ways, and this group that we're in right now is one of those changes. You guys are one of those changes. Something in the air, that's for sure. So thank you guys for that. The next thing that we wanted to kind of talk about tonight. Yes.
Hey, Blaine, do we have some questions?
Yeah, we have some questions.
Oh.
We got some raised hands. Let's take a look around at if you've got your hand raised, do you know how to see that, Blaine? Do you know how to see raised hands?
Yeah, I can see him.
He's like my first grade teacher. You can see him, you just can't see him.
Yeah, I can see him, but I don't know what to do about it.
If you had some questions, go ahead and chime in and unmute yourself if you want to.
All right, I guess you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Damn.
Perfect. Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
Doing well, bud. Okay, so 2 questions on that. Well, one's more of a statement. Ken, you might want to be just more aware or curious about that type of stuff. And then I guess the easy question first off on there is RTPEs, with those charging. Have you guys seen a recoup of the cost for the your services into Xactimate or other billing on that, just like you would a hygienist?
Okay, so I've seen it go both ways. Some contractors have taken my bill and included it on their own Xactimate and added 10 and 10 to it as if it were
Sure.
a sub-trade. And, you know, it's going through the same process that all claims are typically going through. It takes months and months and months. And are you in Florida, Sam?
No, I'm
Idaho.
opposite. I'm in Idaho.
Idaho. Well, in Florida, it's ridiculous how adversarial the relationships are with insurance carriers, and it takes forever to get paid. So yeah, my bills are getting held up as well. I don't prefer it to be invoiced in that fashion. What I do like is I invoice the homeowner, give them an invoice. I get paid when I give them a report, and then they submit the bill as part of their proof of loss at the end of the claim, and they recover it.
Okay. So it goes
I think
directly to
David
them.
wants to say something about that. What do you say, David?
I've seen it both ways. If I can bill something that's by definition outside of Xactimate, I take away the carrier's ability to argue with me over it almost immediately, especially if there's nothing within Xactimate that would quantify it. We do see bills being held up, some just the normal 90 days that it takes them to confirm their coverage. Others a little bit longer, but we're introducing them to a concept. And I got to say, as a contractor, sometimes it takes me 6 months to see a bill get paid, and which is not at all unusual in Florida.
Sure.
So I don't know that we can separate the difference between Florida and the environment in Florida and the introduction of the concept as a whole.
Okay. And so, yeah, following up with that, Idaho's a weird one, and I love using hygienists up here. We got MTI, and I'd be very interested in moving forward with RTPE type stuff. We are not so adversarial. It's just that we are in an environment where I think most of us are, where everyone truly believes. Idaho's a pioneer state, right? And I was from Florida originally, but the pioneer state, they're very pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, deal with it yourself, don't file an insurance claim unless your house is falling down. Big stuff. You know, if it's a small one, oh, no. Insurance isn't there for that. You know, the biggest thing I get is State Farm every time. Well, they take great care of me. Oh, did you file a claim? No. I'd never filed a claim. I just, you know, they take my money for 20 years and they've taken great care of me. I said, oh, I can do that too. You know, that's not a problem. But we are the contractors have beaten up, or not contractors, the adjusters have beaten the contractors up so much that any pushback at all, and you are very, 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 very odd. You know, we're making waves as rebels, which is awesome. So they're starting to see that. But when we have hygienists on there or anything like that, the claims go 1,000 times easier for having a third party just verify what we said. It's not that they don't know, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's super easy to explain. So we haven't had a problem with that. It's just somebody else saying, hey, look, this is what the standard says. You should do that. And everybody gets real quiet real fast. So, right. But second thing I was following up with on there is I just had 2 techs come back from WTR or WRT up in Spokane. Mitch Byram taught it. And I like the guy. Mitch is a cool guy. I talked to learn some stuff from him. But IICRC is pushing to go back on Cat 1. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or not recently, but from their teacher standpoint, they came back because we almost never have a Category 2. Our stuff is a resort town, very long loss, no idea when it started, microbial growth already there. So almost all our stuff is Cat 3. But so our techs were going up there and saying, yeah, we don't ever see that Cat 1 that you guys are talking about. And so Mitch came up and when he was teaching, he said, well, you know, I think it's just a gross factor. People aren't aware. So he's like, hey, who's walked in the parking lot? Who went to the bathroom during, you know, the break, this type of stuff. Anyways, he took like 10 different guys, took their shoes and scraped a bunch of stuff in a glass and drank it and was like, look, it's Category 1. It's okay. And I was like, I don't know what they're trying to teach here, but that seems a little odd from my perspective. And I was just chiming in with you guys if you guys see any of that with the new ISCRCs being taught.
I really got to hear that again. Are you saying that Mitch Byram took stuff off his shoes and put it in a glass and drank it?
Yep. I just literally 2 techs just went to Spokane. And again, I love Mitch. He's a fun guy with dry track and all that stuff. But yeah, he was like, who went to the bathroom? And he just literally scraped stuff off the bottom of a guy's shoes and drank it. And he's like, look, it's not bad. That'll be Category 1. I'm like, okay.
Okay, we got to put Mitch's photograph right beside that mold lickers video. Oh
Hey,
my
I mean,
hey
you know
guys,
Mitch, right?
I know Mitch well. Yeah. Wow.
hey
I'm
guys,
surprised to
we got
hear that.
another question. I don't know who can read the comments. I don't really want to push it too fast, but I know we have another topic or a few. But
Sorry.
what I'd like to do is Blaine is going to take this conversation and make a post about it, and we can continue to bounce some questions back and forth. But just in the sake of some of the other topics, and Ken, I appreciate you and David. Jason doesn't have a microphone. He messaged me, but he made a question here. Ken, are you proposing that we arrive at a loss active? We do not start dry out and demo until we have an RTPE involved? That's his question. So if you wanted to address that, either David or Ken.
Well, I'll go first on that. So I'm not suggesting that that's what everybody do. I am saying that that's what some contractors have done. And you know, even locally where I live in Destin, Florida, there's some local contractors that when they get a claim, I mean, they call me up and say, could you go out there and categorize the water? And yeah, it'll be at, 10 o'clock at night, and I'll shoot on out there. It doesn't take me all night to do that. I do a few samples, a few dozen photographs, and I'm good to go, and I head back home. But yeah, I do it on the spot right at the start. If absolutely necessary, I can follow up the following morning. I just ask them to, leave some area where that I can have some of the original water from. That way I can test that fluid, and I can get that sample. Or I can even have those technicians save a sample for me, and then I can conduct that test. But at the beginning of the job, that's when you're supposed to do the categorization, and it's not a discussion for, it shouldn't be open for debate, 3 months after the claim is finished, like we're currently dealing with. So,
yeah. I think Sam had a comment. Sam said stabilization versus demo. So much in the same way, if it's suspect asbestos containing material, don't disturb the property, but you got to start some strategic stabilization. What do you call it? Yeah, stabilization of the environment to at least mitigate going forward. So, Jason, I hope that answers your questions a little bit. And one more question. Logan Little says, some of these guys don't have microphones, so that's why I'm reading the comments. Can we overnight samples and send pics and have an RTPE do their thing from afar?
Well, I'm doing all the talking, David. Do you want to answer this one, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay, here's my thought to this. I'm going to say no to that, at least for me. Now, if David wants to do that, he can knock himself out. But that's not something I want to do. And the reason why is this. And again, we all know this because we've all studied this in the WRT. The way you categorize claims is not simply by looking at where the water came from. There are several factors that we consider. We consider how long the water has been there, what the temperatures of the materials have been during that time that it was there, because the warmer it is, the more it's like an incubator. We look for debris in that water, because that shows that it picked something up along the way. We look for odors. Odors are huge. If you smell something, it's not a category 1. That's just it's a very big clue. And then we're doing some swab samples, in particular ATP or other biological tests that we can either send to a lab or we can culture. And see, now I'm probably missing one, and the source of the water, of course. And am I missing anything, David? I think that should be 6 or 7.
Occupant exposures, anything in the history, pets.
Pets, yes.
Pesticides, do they pesticide treat? So there's all kinds of stuff that's involved in that, which is why it's so rare to actually have a true category 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, David and Peter, when you started off your response, I think that causes me to ask one more question. I think we want to move on to Ryan. So within the RTPE or any environmental professional, you're given a fair amount of, or a somewhat of amount of latitude between your professional designation of what you will and will not do. So what you might do, Mitch might do something different, and then David might be. Are y'all given a little bit of latitude within the standards of that?
I don't know where Ken went, but yes, actually we are. You guys saw, I think someone was kind enough, Blaine, I think posted the 14 points. As long as we agree to that code of ethics. So as long as we can stay within that code of ethics, I would say we as an organization are probably happy with what our people are doing.
We're probably far ahead of if we didn't do anything at all, right?
Yeah. Well, technically, guys, what we forget is what the RTPE is doing should really be being done by the contractor. We started doing all this stuff as contractors first. The problem is we constantly get second guessed for it. Because of the profit motive, people tend to not agree or think that we're telling them the truth. The RTPE gives us the opportunity to separate out all of those questions and truly let us speak for the structure. It's really hard to impugn somebody who says, look, all I'm doing is looking out for the insured and actually looking out for the structure as a whole. How do you say something bad about that?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to push it along. Listen, great dialogue. I'm sure there's probably hours left of things we could talk about. Blaine, if you would make a little post about that, and let's tag David and Ken. We can just run some questions. Hey, Ryan McIntosh, are you mic'd up and ready for sound?
I am all wired for sound. Yes.
Cool. Everyone, Ryan McIntosh with ServPro in Cincinnati, Ohio, was another co-host tonight. And I think you had gotten some information from some people in the group that had a topic that probably was something we had not covered yet, but something we probably all need and we don't always know how to ask about. So the floor is all yours.
All right, 1 second. I just got home. Hold on a minute. All right. See here. Well, I myself had a question and see what y'all thought about it. And I know we were talking about pulling samples and so forth, and the questioning if you arrive on a water loss and you pull something off of a wall, do you guys get it tested? That's I know that's one of the biggest things at my company. And I've asked the question: how do we know if it is ACM or not? What is it? So, what do you guys think on that? Do you guys pull if the structure is before a certain date, like 1965, I believe it is? Do you guys pull a sample and send it off before you cut, or what do you guys do?
So I'm not actually qualified to pull asbestos samples in the state of Florida, so we don't do that. Currently, what we are doing is we are categorizing water. We will do mold samples for those of us who are licensed to pull samples in the state where you require it. And we'll rate those protocols, and we'll also do the daily drying documentation. A quick point on that daily drying documentation. Frequently it's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for us to conduct those daily inspections and produce a comprehensive report that has meaning. So, when the adjuster sees that and he loses his cool, he goes, why the heck do you do that? Why didn't the contractor do it on his own? The contractor replies, because it was absolutely necessary. And so the adjuster says, why was it necessary? It's because you don't believe anything we write down and you always use it against us. So, and he says, well, I don't want to pay this bill. He says, right, but you don't want to pay ours for $30 or $40 every time we come out here and visit, and that doesn't cover our bills. So we don't provide that service anymore. Now we're just subbing it out, and you can pay a third party to do it, and they pay it. Just saying.
Yeah, because I know that's all definitely billable. But yeah. Anyways, I was reading through some of the comments also. I apologize, guys. I was driving, and I was trying not to wreck as much as possible.
Hey, guys, really quickly, just because you're required to consider something presumed asbestos containing, just because it meets the 78 or the 82 for asbestos and lead, doesn't mean you're required to presume exists prior to that. But it doesn't release you from the liability of checking for it if it happens to be older. You guys know that you can go and find hot chrysotile or hot drywall mud at every single Home Depot for the fire rated assemblies right now. Go and check one tomorrow. So you never know what you really have in a structure until you test, until you check. And the standard, the ICRCS 500 and 520 both say that as contractors, in one beautiful little sentence, we say that we're responsible for finding that. So we're on the hook for it, guys. If we don't do it, we're responsible for it. So just a thought to sew that up a little bit.
All right. Thanks, David. Stabilization and demo. I saw that in the comments as well. Stabilization. So when we respond to a loss after hours, and after we determine the category of the loss and what have you, a lot of my guys, they'll say, hey, well, we stabilized it. Well, okay, what did you do? Well, we put fans and dehu and this and this. That's not stabilizing. That's not stabilizing at all. And I mean, they're like, well, we don't want to do everything all tonight. It doesn't matter. In my, if I'm on a job, it all gets done, in one night. If it is category 3, everything comes out, and a lot of the time, with our callers, it is category 3. I think I went on one today, which was a fresh water line, which burst, which I got lucky on that one. It's easy. But yeah, what about you guys? What do you guys think on that?
Well, I do have a thought on that. This is Ken again. If you take a look at section 13 in your book, now just hang on a second. I'm having a hard time finding 13.3 point something. No, that's category 2 and 3. Yeah, that's right. 13.3 point. There it is. 13.3.5. Humidity control in contaminated structures. That is a stabilization procedure. 13.3.5. I think there's some confusion on the definition of a stabilization technique. Stabilization is just to keep the area stabilized during the time that it is decisions are being made and the building is being decontaminated. That's stabilization. It's I'm sure that most of us have had the adjuster say, I don't want you to take out the kitchen cabinets until we give you permission. Or you're not allowed to take out the carpet and pad until we give you permission. Or on and on it goes. And there's all this delay. Well, that's all stabilization. It could take a week and there's no drying happening because it's still contaminated. So the entire period of time it takes to the point where it's declared to be a category 1 sanitary condition, that entire time frame is all stabilization. No air movers, not until it's verified to be category 1. And you can use air scrubbers, dehumidifiers, containment, all of those types of tools. Disable the HVAC system, isolate the area. That's all stabilization. And of course, the other thing that really kills me is that these adjusters, they say, well, we don't want to pay for 9 days of drying. Well, it wasn't all drying. 6 of those days was just stabilization. So what we encourage the contractor to do is segregate your mitigation into phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is all the stabilization efforts, everything it took to bring it up to a sanitary condition, all the washing of the floors, sanitizing, testing, all of it. And you make a scope of work for that and an invoice for that. Phase 1 mitigation. And then you enter into the phase 2 part of it, which is drying. And you're going to put in your air movers and dehumidifiers. And you start an aggressive drying strategy. And that might be 3 or 4 or 5 days. That's phase 2, second invoice. Don't put it all on one invoice. I'll promise you, there's contractors all around the country that are now doing that, and they're getting paid for 12 days, 14 days, 15 days. No argument, because the first week, 2, whatever it is all
one.
Hey, Ryan.
Sir.
I was also thinking, I think y'all are talking activities on night 1 from an environmental standpoint, but I was talking to you a little earlier and I was reading some of your notes. It was also, I'm going to talk about from a manager, leader, owner in my techs. If I have a water mitigation that comes out tonight, and then, hey, we've got, category 1, water all over. What does the crew do tonight versus come back tomorrow morning and do? Was that kind of some of the tone that you were talking about as well?
Yes.
I would I would first talk about, and I'm going to answer for just a minute. So I would always include the homeowner and let them know what needs to happen and why. But I personally wouldn't want my crew. I'm a big believer in don't put off today, which don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow might be 3 more jobs. And I don't want to know that I can't get a crew that worked, didn't want to stick it out and do another 2 or 3 hours of little more, demolition that was required for the stabilization, maybe, pad or block or whatever. Just extract it, put a piece of equipment and go home and go to bed and watch Oprah or watch Jay Leno or whatever. I'm going to want that crew to get that thing into a shape where I can get back out there tomorrow, or maybe if you have an estimator, come out there and have more of the work done, because tomorrow morning might be, 2 more losses. I mean, we're supposed to get down in the teens tonight. If one of my guys just went to a loss tonight and just did an hour's worth of work and thought he would just go back in the morning, I've got 6 more jobs. It's just not good production. But that's my opinion. I'm kind of a hard ass. I see Whitney over there looking at me like, "You crazy, man." But I wanted to see if anybody else kind of agreed. And that's like off the point from what Ken's talking about from an environmental standpoint. That obviously trumps. And then your customer also has to be bought into it as well and saying, listen, I know I got to be up till 3 in the morning, but letting them know that this all needs to happen tonight, especially from a documentation standpoint.
One other minor thing to consider, guys, and this is where I say I'm not an attorney, I'm not an adjuster, I don't play one on TV, I'm not a PA. But every policy that's created by ISO, it's my understanding that there's a duty for everyone, for the insurance company to be allowed to inspect as often as is reasonably necessary, which seems exceptionally reasonable, right? Until the carrier decides that they'd like to inspect the day after you've torn everything out, and they don't think that the documentation you took in photo or video form is appropriate. And all of a sudden now folks are real upset. And I know that sounds really strange if you've never had that happen to you, and up until about 4 years ago, honestly, neither had I. I just finished my first lawsuit where a carrier denied a claim for 3 years because after 7 days of waiting for them to show up when they didn't, we finally took out materials we absolutely had to. And then they came back and denied the claim because we deprived them of their contractual right in their policy to actually inspect. So I know every place is very different. Most places you can probably call the insurance company and ask them, "Hey, can I tear stuff out of my pictures satisfactory?" If you're not asking for that in writing, I'd start. And if not, I could tell you, at least here in Florida, we're not moving off of stuff. So that's something for you to think. And the way it is in Florida, it's coming, soon to a place near you. So, balance that in the process of that. And Sam, I'm seeing that consistently. The moment that I ask a carrier if my pictures will be sufficient and if they'll put in writing that I can start my active mitigation phase, oftentimes they just simply go dark on me. At which point we begin to stabilize, and we document it every day and send them out a stabilization notice that says, "We're stabilizing for your benefit for your inspection." Now, I'm guessing it's not like this for you guys, but it's certainly like this here, and be aware, all an adjuster ever has to do is just flip that from one side to the other, and they kind of own you if they want to. You're darned if you do, darned if you don't. So consider, all right?
If you can't start mitigation immediately, you should walk on that job.
Not start the MIT, just not do active demolition. Extract, pull out materials you know that no one's going to argue with. Apply antimicrobial, do your initial categorization, do your moisture mapping. I'm not suggesting everybody go to sleep at night and leave structures a mess. Do what's necessary to be responsible. But then give the carrier the opportunity to say, "Do you want to inspect this before I do any additional work? And if you do, are my photographs going to be acceptable for you for that purpose?" It's amazing how often they won't tell you that it is.
I mean, that sounds like business as usual, honestly.
Yeah. We protect our clients like that because at the end of the day, we do our work, we give the bill to the client. The client's the one's got to pay it. So anyway, food for thought as you guys go to sleep tonight.
All right, Joe, you had a question?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to add a comment, add something to what Ken said and also what Clark said. You know, in my years of experience, I've only found it maybe a handful of times where a mitigation, we identified something that we needed further understanding before we moved forward with it. But it was a handful of claims out of tens of thousands. But in those instances, what I would recommend to everybody, if you come across a situation where you feel from an environmental standpoint, you really should get some further guidance or maybe really just stop, right, before you make a situation worse. The key is to document the wet materials to the nth degree, because unfortunately, most carriers will come in after you've set up stabilization and say, well, this is okay, I don't have to take this out now, and this is okay, I don't have to take that out now. But if you documented that it physically had contact with water, whether it be hydroscopic or it be direct contact, you're going to get that material removed as you move forward through your process. But if you don't document it, you will struggle often with probably 20 to 30% of the materials that you would have normally just taken out, trying to get them taken out after the fact during a stabilization period. So I would just caution everybody, if you walk into that situation, you know, document. And I don't mean, you know, with just a moisture map. I mean, take pictures of your actual reading, showing the location in the space, identify what's really wet. I just wanted to add that to the guys listening so that anybody who's new doesn't just walk away from a job or is afraid to do a job, but they actually can start it with the right process.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody have any comments? Hey, Dooley, what's up, man? I'm one of our esteemed original OGs is in the group. So with the what do you call that thing in your neck there, Kevin? Shamaga or Shamog?
It's called a scarf, brother.
No, it's called something else. It's got a name for it. I'm really was trying, guys. I'm really kind of on a crunch here. I got a lot of people tell me, and I always notice that around the 1 hour mark, people fly off of here quick. So I really am trying to crush through here. I wanted to bring something up, and again, this would be another topic that Mike can carry over to the group, just so everybody knows that if you look at the insights of our Facebook group, Tuesday nights after the roundtable are off the charts with topics and conversation and traffic. So there's always, I think these calls ignite a lot of different conversation, bring up a lot of debate sometimes. So definitely bring this back. Joe was just talking. I wanted to let Joe join me. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. And just, I don't know, 10 minutes before the call, we put a new pinned post at the top of the Restoration Rebels group. And it's the launch of our website, our new restorationrebels.com. It is not 100,000% set up the way we want it and whatever it is when you first start, but we've got it launched and we've got it a little better than bare bones. And right away, and Joe, you might be best at telling us how this thing's going to cycle through. So I want to tell everyone that if you've already registered on the directory to be able to get onto the map, you will not have to do that portion again. But if you've not done that yet, when you go to the website, it's going to be up on the landing page on the screen. So you're going to register and you're going to get there. But Joe, you want to chime in, and then we'll talk about a few of the features that are going to be coming into this website in pretty quick order. It's not something that's going to take a long time. We just kind of have to organize and collate a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Clark mentioned, it's pinned to the top of the Facebook thread. It's a link to our new page, our website for the group. At the very top, it says get started. You click on it. It's going to walk you through to become a member. Basically, some real basic information. If you've already filled out the form, like Clark said, skip that part. Just go to the bottom. And what this does is it gives all the people who put information in to be on the map. It makes that information private to the group. We don't believe at this point that the group was willing to have all of that information out there to the public. It was really more of a collaboration for within the group. So therefore, you have to have a password to see it. We kind of made some restrictions, so we have to sign up there. regarding where we're going to go with the site. So we've been having some in-depth conversations of the content, right? That's going to make the most sense. So we've been developing several pages, again, behind the membership login, that will really be a place that we believe, as admin, that you'll be going to on a regular basis. So we're going to have a section for every document we could ever imagine. So if you're looking for this a waiver, that a waiver, a moisture doc, whatever, those documents are going to be there for the group to have. We're going to be hosting all of these roundtable conversations. We're going to be giving the members an ability to post their most current project and brag about some cool project they just did, because we all do them, right? There's going to be some really interactive stuff on the site that we believe is going to just drive everyone's business. Now, I want to go on topic, off topic. So as everyone's filled out these forms so far, which by the way, we're at about 140 people. We want to see that continue to grow. We are looking at that data on the back end and starting to do some analytics. And here's one of the really interesting things that we found. Almost 50% of our members today are doing a volume of revenue that if they participate in this group, I assure you their business will double within the next year. This is the type of content that we're putting together as a collaborative, as a group, that there's so many nuggets being found right now in our Facebook thread that when you guys see how we develop the site and the information available to everybody in the group, if you're not doubling your business, growing your business substantially through these nuggets, you might want to think about changing the industry you're in. That's all I'm saying, because we're giving you guys so much good information through this that we know and we believe in our hearts that it's going to help grow your businesses. And that's what we're passionate about. We're passionate about helping each other build and grow and not step in the same puddle that someone did 5 years ago, right? And we've just put a lot of work into it. It's been a lot of collaboration. So today, please, when we get off the call, go to the Facebook pinned post, fill out the membership form, and let's get this thing going. You guys will be able to start to see the map, etc. Now I want to talk about the map briefly. We've had some data entry issues from users. So when you see the map, if you see your locations, either maybe one, not there, or two, you're in Australia because you typed in the wrong address, do us a favor, just send us an email. We'll correct it and get it updated. We're going to be managing this regularly. So every day, I assure you, the map is going to become more accurate, more populated, etc. Now, for those companies that have multiple locations, we want all of your locations that you own represented on this map. So it's imperative that you send us an email with the addresses of those additional locations so that we as admin can get those locations onto the map as well. And I want to tie in one last thing before I let you guys go is every day in our news thread on Facebook, there's at least 2 to 3 posts of rebels asking, hey, does somebody know X in this area? I need Y in this area. I need this service. This map will definitively help you get that answer and connect immediately with that resource of a fellow member. And so these are just some of the things that we're scratching the surface of benefits. But I encourage you again, all log in, fill it out, make a bigger commitment to be a part of this movement.
Hey, David, Joe.
Yeah.
Look at the site. So if they go to the contact us page, there's an email there that they can email, and you'll get to the response. If not, once a day or every a couple times a day sometimes. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to go ahead and go into real quick. I'm really excited about this, guys. Joe has a really good, strong background in this, and I'm sure a lot of people here do. But some of the things we're going to do are there are going to be some archive sections for everybody's seen. Andy likes to make the YouTube video. He's made a lot of videos in the past. We're going to put a section where those are going to all be there. I know they're on YouTube, but we're going to try to use this page, and this will be pinned to the top of our Facebook group. But this page will be the vehicle where you can get to a lot of things. We're going to archive things and index them so that you can type in a topic and find them. All of the previous roundtables that we've had, they'll be in there in the archives. We're going to have a section for events, which is going to be prior events. There's going to be a lot of images, video, content from Bend, Oregon, the inaugural event. And then, of course, the site place for the new events, videos, who's coming and whatnot. Ticket sales are going to be done through this site. This is pretty much going to handle everything. It's even going to, and I don't know, I talk with my hands a lot. I'm cutting up wood here. Joe was telling me tonight that we'll start to, the calls will be through here. It will not be through Zoom. You will go to the site, and if you're a member, you will be a one-click, and we will do our webinars through the web page. Something else that I'm really, really excited about, again, I've talked about it in several posts, and I'm never really complaining, but these things take a little while. But something I'm excited about is a lot of new members message me a lot and say, hey, I want to talk about, like tonight or tomorrow, if we get a new member, they're going to want to talk about RTPEs. Well, we don't want to make a whole big roundtable about that again next week because we just talked about it, but that person's brand new. We're going to have a suggestion poll in here. It's going to be pretty well laid out. Joe's kind of explained it to me, but I don't see it in my head yet. But you will be able to go in and put in order all the things that you might be interested in: hiring, staffing, pay structures, marketing, SEO, O&P on MIT, whatever. And those results will come back with what's leading. And we are going to do what's called, what do we say, Joe? Rebel Classroom, Rebel Academy. So it's going to be
Rebel Classroom.
Rebel Classroom. So we're going to set up breakout and sub these meetings on a more focused, smaller, specific scale. So let's say Trey wants to talk about truck loadouts for trucks for hurricanes. And he doesn't know much about it. Well, if that's a topic that we can see enough people getting behind and it makes sense, or even if it's 3 people, we find someone in our group, either through polling or from prior experience, that has good enough strength to carry a meeting like that along. And it will be we'll schedule it up through our site, and it might be Thursday at 4 p.m. If you can't make it, it'll be recorded, interactive, and then put into the thing. And so that'll always be in the archive as like a truck loadout for category, cat storms 101. So that's really cool. And that's just stuff that we're just thinking about right now. Joe and Andy and I have had several conversations, and as we move along and more of the admins, and even you as guests, if you start getting in there tonight and messing around and you have some, man, it'd really be cool if we could do this. Within reason, we're going to do as much as we can. So I'm really excited about it. I did tell everyone that, and all the he said all the files will be in there, and and it'll still be on the Facebook group, but any future files and documents and things like that, we're going to start putting in there. There's going to be cool little things for new members. Whenever new members come into the group, they're going to start getting kind of walk through the process. Hey, we've got a book club, and we've got a weekly roundtable. Make sure you like that page, and this and this and this, so that nobody misses any content. So really, really, really exciting for me. And I think feedback from everyone as we start doing it will be as well. Any comments or questions about that page? I know some people are making some comments. I think Sherry was having a problem with login, but if you have problems with login, we'll make a post after this. Joe's going to be available to help us with some of the technical side of it and getting things worked out. But Jerry, did you have anything to say? Jerry Edel?
Hey, thanks for having me, letting me join you guys. I'm excited about what you guys are doing, man. This is so cool.
Yeah, I think I've said it before that I find myself, except for 2 or 3 other general groups, I pretty much find myself coming here a lot more than anywhere, and not because I'm part of it in the way I am, but just from, I learn something every day, every single day. And tonight, Blaine and Mr. McIntosh, and next week Parker was going to be here tonight, but Parker was having a memorial for a family member that he lost. But don't be surprised if you're either a large part of this, a small part. If I find out you're an expert in the field, you might get a PM from me, and you might get elected to come in on a meeting, either on a regular one like this one or one of the smaller breakouts. And then last thing, and I really will turn the mic over to everybody, but Joe and I were talking about, and Andy, this call on Tuesdays will probably change its format quite a bit because it will not be as heavy topic driven as some of the smaller breakouts. But it'll be as much for meeting new people and just updates and things. But these are going to get a little shorter. Me and Andy and Kevin and a bunch of us are going to start working on the vision of the group, start formalizing some of the, what do we stand for? What's our MTP? What can we, what's our goal for the next 90 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and 5 years and whatnot. And I think that's been really, really requested. So that's just something that we just need a little bit more focused time on. And that's my piece. If Kevin or Joe or anybody, Ryan, anybody wants to single back in something, or Ken, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And David, of course, as always. But I just don't know where else you go to get kind of like you got like the all-star team here times 3,
Yeah, well, I'll step in for a second there. I just want to give you guys a heads up, too. I've seen a lot of people filling out stuff online, so that's great. But to add to what Clark said, guys, we're here with experience. I don't know everything. Clark doesn't know everything. Andy doesn't know everything. But we genuinely care. And the input we're getting back from everybody and the input that everybody's giving is so powerful. 5 years ago in our industry, this was unheard of. Unheard of. There was nowhere for a real restorer to go and learn and be a part of something. So to me, there's something really special and unique about what we're doing as a collaborative. And if we stay true to our mission, if we stay true to transparency and integrity, guys, the sky is the limit. We struggle with the carriers today, but I assure you, through our processes, we won't tomorrow and next year. So I just encourage everybody just to keep participating, keep asking questions, please. I mean, it makes us all better.
Hey, who was about to speak? Was that? I want to mention one more thing that we did not talk about tonight, and I want to just say something about it. One time, there was a piece of false documentation that was put into our group last night. That's been confirmed to be fake news and false, and we took it down because that's the responsible thing to do. Propaganda, it hurts Xactimate and everybody else involved. We wouldn't want some kind of thing like that put out there about us. So if something like that comes back up again, let's not be too quick. If it's that polarizing, it might not be that true. Let's use a little bit of logic, because I think a couple of people had a really good point that that company would lose 50% of its business and isolate 50% of its populace by doing something like that. So let's just, if we're going to start moving towards being a group that wants to be taken seriously, I think that starts with recognizing that we can be rebellious and stand for what we believe in, but not blow up the camp, So I saw it last night. I tell everybody I'm not really in the Xactimate world. It didn't really mean that much to me, but it really set off some whistles. And I think a couple people today took charge and went and got a hold of that group, inside of our group and outside. I think Whitney was doing a little bit on his side of things too. And so I just wanted to tell everybody that was a false piece of things, and we're likely to see more and more of that. And I think we now learned our lesson from it. Hey, Bob.
Hey, Clark. One thing I was going to add on that, what Joel's putting together, it probably wouldn't be bad to put something, a space in there where you could add your background of what you've done, where you've been, and what you know. That way, it'd be more, everybody would know what you got here from different people.
Yeah, to answer that down the road, it would be very simple for us to put out a simple form that allowed you to need a resume per se, right, or a curriculum vitae that you could then have next to your account that other people could see. So that's a great idea. Those are things that we can start to look at and do down the road.
Yeah, it'd just be something good to lean on. Someone you say, oh, I think this guy knows something about this here because he's got a lot of background in it, or whatever it may be. So other than that, everybody's just kind of hidden. You don't know what their strengths are.
Clark. I can see your lips moving. I can't hear you, buddy.
Oh, my sound was off. I'm sorry. Anybody have anything before we cut this thing off? We're going to make a couple of posts to carry this over.
Clark, did you see the PM I just sent you?
No? Oh, I know I have great hair. Are you talking about my hat? No.
No. I was talking about the pricing discussion.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's probably worth. That's definitely worth mentioning. I think we made a post about it, but it's something to say here. We've got about 35 people, so sure.
Yeah, all I wanted to do is bring up something that all the rest of the larger organizations have already taken care of. If you happen to be a member of RIA, you know that they post antitrust statements every place. We're going to have to codify this at some point, but everybody needs to be exceptionally careful about discussing your pricing. How you arrive at your pricing is fair game, how to build a price list, how to work with Xactimate, how to report back to Xactimate, all fair game. But we can't have anything posted, and we don't ever want to entertain specific prices because that borderlines on antitrust, and we got to be real careful about that, guys. So watch, because we can't be everywhere all the time. If you see something like that, make us number one aware of it, and PM the person privately, and let's make sure we can clean up our feeds and everything. No one would do it intentionally, and we need to clean up in case someone accidentally does. Does that sound about right, Clark?
It does. Okay. It really, really does. Kevin, anything to add?
Actually, I'm going to volunteer something. One of the things that the RIA does religiously, and I don't like using that word, but just repetitively on anything that they ever do on something like this broadcast that we're doing this evening, is before anything is talked about, there is an antitrust statement that is read. There is nothing proprietary about that boilerplate language that they read every time something goes on. And usually the chairman or the moderator of the event will say to the group, please don't be offended if I interrupt you, if I see that we're going into an area that we shouldn't be talking about. And everybody's on the same page. But that becomes part of the culture. And I think it's an important thing that David mentioned. Kudos on that.
I 100% agree with that one.
And the RIA does a great job of that.
Well, I appreciate it. Listen, I've never run a group like this. This started out as a social media Facebook group with 12, 13 people, and it's grown. This is the kind of stuff that I'm saying, and we don't know what we don't know. And so, Kevin, Ken, if you can help us firm up with a boilerplate that can be read, and anybody that can help me or anybody in this group not step on landmines because they've stepped on them before, I would welcome that. And I mean, we're going to mess up, but I definitely would like to. I'd like to keep this group together. It wouldn't take much to really mess things up here. That what was excited as we are, it could go away real quick if we did things wrong, and I know that. So I appreciate that input.
So Clark, I do have that boilerplate language. I'd be happy to email it to you.
Got it. Well, thanks, guys. Well, listen, we're getting into the teens here. I'm going to go start getting some crews and guys ready. If anybody needs anything, you know where we're all in the group after this. I don't know where Andy went, but man, I appreciate everybody being here.
Can he post the backlinks for our web pages now that we have a page up?
Joe?
I'm sorry, you want to do backlinks?
Joe, did you hear that?
Somebody wants to do a backlink to their site?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is David. This is David. Yeah, we wanted the backlink so we could put it onto our page.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to put on your page? You want to put the map on your page?
We were gonna we were gonna backlink to the site. You guys are gonna have great domain authority, page authority. I know that was one of your one of the bonuses of being able to do that.
Yeah, we're not prepared just yet to do that. We have to figure out some of our restriction capabilities on the site first before we can start backlinking, but that is definitely coming.
Okay.
Hey, Ken, I'll drop you a message with my email, and we'll get that put over there. Or Kevin, if you had something great. But listen, I'm going to bounce off. If anybody needs anything, give me a holler, and we'll catch up by later in the week. Thanks for your contributions, Blaine and Ryan. It means a lot that y'all took the ball and ran with it today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks. See you later.
Thanks.